Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Grizzly from Lexington, Kentucky. How's everybody doing today? Coast to coast, around the world. We have another special guest for you today. How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm doing good. Just put me some lipstick on.
All right. Welcome to the show. Introduce yourself.
My name is Ericka Boussarhhane, but I go by Psychic Diva and known as International Psychic Medium Ericka Boussarhhane.
Oh, I heard a lot of good things about you.
I'm spooky.
Yeah. You're on the right show for that. That's for sure. So give us some background history on you.
So I come from a family full of psychics, and I basically decided to be a little different. I wanted to try to harness my ability and learn from the best to be the best. I'm still working on that, because we're learning every day. But during the time that I was young, I would always see things, I guess, that nobody saw, spirits and whatnot. And I was always in tune with the auditory aspects of mediumship from a young age. People would say, like, I was a old soul. And I think that old souls are not really old souls. I think that we hear and feel things that other people don't see, hear, and feel. And so as small children, we say things out of the mouth of babes. We say these things because we hear them and we repeat them. And then people look at us like, who told you that, Right. And so I grew up with that all my life, even, in high school, going up to the child that we would now call the emo kid, the one that's probably going to hurt themselves or they're self-harmers. I could go up to those kids and, just kind of know things about them that I should not know as a young, that happened in elementary school. I can tell you stories of children in high school, college. I've had that. I just recently had a lady come purchase some things from my haunted house. And as soon as she walked in, I was like, dead person. It happens to me every place I go.
That's something. I don't know if I can deal with something like that every day.
I have my breakdowns. I think I had one this morning too. I was dealing with a grandmother trying to tell me something about how to save somebody's life, and it's a responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah, I can truly understand. I have a lot of psychics and mediums on the show, and they usually start out the same way as you do. Explain how they grew up and their childhood and all up through college and stuff. But you are known as on TV as well. A lot of people were happy to see you come on the show.
Cool.
So, yeah. So can you explain how all that happened?
Uh-oh, I lost you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Can you explain how you got on the TV and what brought you up to all that stage and the history behind all that?
So basically, there was the show Ghost Hunters. I'd done a walkthrough at the Pensacola Lighthouse. I don't know how long ago this was. It was a team there. They actually ran the Pensacola Lighthouse, and they asked me, the local medium in Pensacola, to come out and walk the grounds. And it was really cool because I had never been to the Pensacola Lighthouse, and I was born in Pensacola. So I walked around, and they basically recorded me. They were skeptical. I'm a skeptic as well. So they kind of walked around, and I remember it was the president at the time was walking with me, and I'm walking around and I'm like, cistern. They said it's a cistern here right under my feet. And I said, what is a cistern? And he started explaining to me, but his eyes looked like they popped out of his head because nobody knew that there was a cistern, and I didn't even know what a cistern was at the time.
Right.
And then so I was telling them there were bodies on the ground and just all this other stuff. And so when Ghost Hunters actually called them because they wanted to do the lighthouse, they talked about me. They talked about my visit, me seeing the slaves. Well, I'm African American. So slaves are going to connect to me. And so they talked about, all the Native Americans that I talked to on the grounds, and the pauper graves that we do know now are documented because I found them back a long time ago. So they talked about that. So Ghost Hunters wanted me on the show to talk about the slave visitor. That's my dog in the background, not a ghost. But they could not have me as a psychic because they're a scientific show. So on the show, they called me a visitor. I was a visitor of the lighthouse, which technically is true. But that was my first opportunity to go on, on television. And we had been, I've been interviewed by every channel you can think of, the Learning Channel, TLC, Discovery, for all these different opportunities from when psychic detectives were around. Because I had worked on stuff like that when I first started out, and nothing ever stuck. So I was like, okay, I'm interviewed, but yet I'm not on my own show yet. So I just made my own show. I said, I'll do my own thing. And so we started shooting locally here in town, just having fun. I mean, we didn't know what we were doing. And we pitched it, and we actually got put on like YouTube, and anybody get on YouTube. We were on Amazon Prime and Tubi and Displex and all these others, and we're working on one now. It's being edited, called the Oakley Mansion. But yeah, I mean, that's how it started, and I am still wanting to get on major television. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the research that I've seen and everything. Sorry about that. It's a studio phone, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not taking phone calls today.
Yeah, let's take phone calls. I love doing live readings.
I have another set of equipment that's supposed to be coming in tomorrow to do that. But
okay. Next time, guys, he'll have to have me come back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. I've totally upgraded all the equipment. But it seems like for the longest time that people have a, what do you want to call it?
Skeptical, negative connotation with psychics.
Yes, they do, and they're, and I've talked to quite a few that actually work with allegedly the FBI and the police departments, to find dead bodies and so forth. So, but I
love that word allegedly. You know why I'm such a skeptic, and so I will just say this for the record. I'll never forget, I was in Texas at the Texas Ghost Show, and I was doing a gallery, and I remembered only because of the news article. I mean, when I'm talking to somebody, I don't remember what I say 10 years ago. Right. But yeah, they talked about me talking about this guy blowing up, and they said I did the hand movements and all this other stuff. Well, a guy literally blew up. It was a young man that was killed in war, and I was talking to his mom at the time. But I agree with you 100%. When I say I'm a skeptic psychic, I have people that test me all the time. I've been through it. I have other psychics that hear about me and they think I'm like ego-based, and they want to, let me see if I can, tell her something. So I appreciate skepticism. But as far as the finding bodies, now I will tell you this, people contact me all the time, and people like me, psychics, and they want us to help. We can't always do it. It's not like I was, before I called you, I was working on a guy who's missing in my bed, laying down, remote viewing. But the validity of it, there are a lot of people that say they've worked with the FBI. I know that I have, because I was with Find Me Too. And I know there's a documentary called The Girl with the Golden Earring that is on ID channel. And it actually profiled me. They did not use my name and information because I didn't want them to. They also didn't depict me correctly, because I am not a tarot reader by any means. But yeah, that is 100% a documented case of a body I found. And I actually had met her 3 months and told her she was pregnant at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, in the paranormal field, where we talk about Bigfoot, Dogman, and other cryptids, I tell everybody, yes, there's a little Johnny out there in the middle of the woods at night in a monkey suit, drunk, causing havoc on everybody.
I love it.
So, and there's been times where I'll be interviewing somebody and they would just interrupt me and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'd be like, "What are you talking about?" And the next thing you know, they start talking about my back problems and they bring up my kidney cancer I had, and I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh, okay. Well, nah, nobody knew that before, so everybody knows that on the show now." So yeah, I am a believer, but I'm also a believer that there are some phonies out there as well.
amen.
Unfortunately, that does happen. I had a place, and I'm not gonna tell you what state that I lived in that had a house and had one of those palm reader signs up in the front window of the bay window of the house, and I would do this and that, and I talked to some locals that lived there, and they're like, "Nah, don't even try it." So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That is, we have that in my area too. And I always tell people this is how you know the legitimacy of a psychic or medium, and we are different. Ask them, can you record it? If you can't record your session, run. Because if all of my clients record their sessions, usually, but if they don't want you to, if they don't want to be accountable to the BS they're going to say to you, they're not going to let you record it. So that's an indication of a scammer, because if they say, well, I need $500, you got that on recording. And so if they don't want you to record the reading, keep running.
yeah,
They'll
well, that makes sense. I like that. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
It really is.
Everybody's got a digital recorder or a video camera. Most clients will video. I mean, I was doing a ghost hunt this Sunday, and the lady just I started reading one of the guys at the ghost hunt. Lady just pulled out, not even her husband, it wasn't even the wife. Another lady just pulled out a camera and started recording me talking. And I was like, yeah, girl, I ain't got no makeup on right now, but it's okay. It's okay. Don't put that on the internet now. Don't do it.
Well, a lot of people say, they don't believe, but my thing is first off, people believe in creatures that scientists tells us that do not exist, but they do. Yeah, a biblical reference. There's pages and books out of the Bible that are not in there. They're supposed to be.
Mhm.
So, when I tell people, you draw a line in the sand and say you don't believe in this, but you believe in that, you have to erase that line somewhere and move it, because, you just can't believe in one thing and not the other.
True.
And I've been around long enough and done this quite a while and been around enough people where I have seen the truth and I have seen the false prophets, as I call them, and so forth, just out there to grab people's money and so forth. But it's everywhere you go. It's not your type of profession or business, however you want to describe it. It's anywhere and any
True.
topic almost.
True.
So
Yeah. Intent plays a lot. I always tell people I didn't grow up to be a psychic. I'm a serial entrepreneur, philanthropist. I started out in psychology, opened up childcare facilities, did Comic Cons, I do business expos, haunted houses, all kind of whatever I get bored, I do. So the factor of being a psychic medium actually full time happened when I started to travel as a medium, and I did not want to keep my daycare centers because it was just too difficult to worry about the care of those kids when I was on the road. So I closed them and became a full-time psychic medium. It's not like I don't rely on being a medium for my money, I guess is the way to explain it. So I can turn down clients, and it's not a focus. Where people get, I think, like that is when they're trying to use it as a profession. And, sometimes they're the scam artists that travel from here to here and have, different setups in an area, mom and pop shops, that they do that. We have one set in Pensacola, and I tell people stay away. If you go in there, ask them to record it, they'll tell you to leave.
yeah, right. And it's just when people go to get readings, they can convince you by generalizing statements that they're actually reading you.
Yeah.
And they have studied psychology and other behaviors, and they can tell by looking at you if you're lonely, you're depressed, and so forth. And and they can bring up general topics along those lines. And once you start feeding into it, then they're going to start feeding back into you and giving you some more concrete, what I call evidence, is that fits your topic that you're on at the time. So
Yeah.
but when you have somebody that actually can pinpoint things, items, descriptions, and I don't see how people can hear and see things all the time. That would just drive me nuts. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. So
I think it's cool. I love it. I always say that I'm not afraid of a lot of things that most people would be afraid of, because I know I have other people around me that you can't see that watch me. I've been in places that, somebody else probably couldn't walk out alive, and here I stand. So,
yeah. Well, I did an interview yesterday. I think it was yesterday. My memory's getting bad. I'm only 48. But she was a psychic medium and a raker, healer, and all. She had all of her certifications and so forth. And she actually does a lot of things like you do. And it was funny. I had a friend on the show that's going to co-host another talk show with me. We're doing together, and yeah, my podcast is just blowing up. It's just amazing, and I just had no idea it's going to take off like this. But I'm sitting there and I'm listening to her, and I kept looking at him real close, because my laptop's so far away. I kept looking at him. I'm like, is he breathing heavy? Because I kept hearing heavy breathing. Then I kept hearing somebody walking around on like wood floors. Where her house was from the 1730s.
oh wow.
She was across the pond. And I'm like, well, I know my buddy doesn't have hardwood floors. He's sitting in a chair. She's sitting in a chair, not moving. Then I started hearing a male mumble and a woman humming. And I'm like, stop. Everybody, hold on for a second. I'm like, does anybody else hear what I'm hearing? And Glenn's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I got headphones on. You don't. And she's like, yeah, I just got done doing some stuff with one of my, what do you call it? Guiding angels or guiding spirits or something like that.
Yeah, everybody has different terms, but some people have spirit guides and stuff like
Spirits
that.
guides, yes, yes. And she says her house is very active. It's the friendly, bubbly kind. It's the good energy, not the negative. She said when she first got there, took her 3 times to cleanse the house of all the negative energy. And she was like, I can't believe that you can hear that. She's like, I thought I was the only one who was hearing that. I was like, no, I can hear it. I said, I heard everything that's been going on. And I said, I've been trying to watch both of you all to determine, if, who was doing what and what one of you all was causing that. And Glenn was like, well, it's probably me, heavy breathing. I'm like, no, it wasn't, because I was watching your lips and everything. And your mic's down there on the table. My mic's up here. And I'm a heavy breather, but you can't hear it. And she just cracked up about it. And then she, explained a couple of things about the guy and the lady and everything. And my friend was like, why would I have to go back and listen to it? And I was like, yeah, you're going to have to. And then all of a sudden her feed dropped, her feed muted and all this other stuff. Like they didn't want her to talk to us. And, it's just some technical difficulty items that unfortunately happened soon after I brought that to everybody's attention. So who knows?
Interesting. Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows?
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Because I get distracted when I talk to people sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so does this mean anything to you? I'm gonna explain. So this would be going in a door.
Okay.
Do you have any to either driveway? How is that in the front of the house? Any circular back of the house? Okay.
Uh-huh.
And a question, I felt like when I was in your house, I had to drop down. So do you have like a sunken floor or something?
Uh, well, I have steps on my previous location where I am now.
No, it wouldn't be steps. That'd be two. No. So is this the front entrance? That's what I
Yeah.
got a little confused.
Yes.
So I need to step down something here. Well, I'm really confused because normally I don't see the house like this. I see it left or right. So I don't know why they divided your
Yeah.
home into
When you come
parts.
into my old house, you can walk up or you can walk down.
Okay. All right.
So
That's not
that's
bad.
interesting.
Okay. I sometimes I go someplace when I'm talking to somebody.
I
That's
knew
I'm
you was
sorry.
going somewhere. It always happens, you know, and I know somebody's doing something.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, well, we're starting to get some good questions here, but yeah, but you know,
Okay.
it's amazing that you brought that up because I was actually thinking about that uh, right prior before you came on the show, is because where I moved from, I was on the PD, then I went to the civilian world and worked for a company where I did a lot of interviews for theft, workplace violence, suicide ideations, and I was really good at it. And I moved up the chain pretty fast and got to some management positions. And didn't take me long. They brought me to where I'm at now down here in Lexington. Then I got back into law enforcement. You know, I got into the animal side because they needed help with the cruelty cases. They were
Mm-hmm.
having problems in court with them. And I had a fail, and they thought I broke my back, and I accidentally found kidney cancer. And lo and behold, you know, I'm on a cane now, and people were talking to me to do this and that. And I was reminiscing about the old house.
Neck hurt.
Yeah, my
I
right
just
side.
my neck hurts.
Yeah,
Right
and
side.
that's why you see me move my neck a lot.
Okay.
And that's why you see me move back and forth because it's hard for me to sit still. So I do walk with the cane.
Okay.
So I don't know about you, Appalachian Tales of Terror. Does that Mr. Blanton give you any indication yet? So he's the one, you know, that former pastor, very good, intelligent man. Uh,
Awesome.
he has seen a lot of things. Here, I'll start throwing them up here.
I literally I clicked on the comments so I can see them as they come in
Okay.
now. Yeah.
And he sees a lot of things. I don't live far from the Appalachian Trail. He lives pretty much right next to it. So um, he's a very interesting person, knows a lot of things, but no offense to anybody listening or watching. I always say you can never draw a line in the sand because you have to move it sooner or later. And that's my belief and my opinion only. So,
Yeah.
and you know, this is typically what happens to me. It's either on the show or after we get off the air. This is what happens with me and psychics and mediums. They start telling me stuff. Yesterday, during the interview, my buddy, it's just out of nowhere, she's like, I have to talk to your friend for a minute. And she starts spatting off that there was a woman behind him, and she was describing everything, who she was, and it's not a grandmother, it's like a great grandmother, and you know, she died of cancer. That's what she's telling me. And she just was like going on and on. And my buddy just kept leaning over and over his computer. He's like, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, what else can you say? This is not set up. You know, sometimes it just comes out. So just like you said about my neck, you know, that's why you see me moving my head back and forth. You know, it's a pain, but you know, they want to do the back operation first, but I don't know. The way you have to go in and do the back operation scares me. So makes
So
me run.
what I want you to something about lymph nodes in your neck, okay?
Uh-huh.
So what I'd probably tell you to do is figure out online if there's any kind of pressure points that you can do on that right side. And I'll talk to you about your lymph nodes later off air. You'll
Yeah.
just call me later, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, the reason why you probably were drawn to me, not just because I'm chocolate and delicious, but
Ah,
but it's probably because I had a kidney transplant. Did you know that?
no, I did not. No, I did not.
So my
And
dad inside of me probably made you more drawn to me.
well, I do a lot of research on my guests. I do not go any, meeny, miny, mo and pick somebody. I really do a lot of homework on them and so forth. But kidney surgery is no joke, ladies and gentlemen. I tell you that for sure. That is the worst pain. I have 5 incisions, and they use a machine and hands, and that was just awful. Now, unfortunately, I had small cell carcinoma, and that actually comes back into the lungs most of the time. So every 90 days, I get chest X-rays, and every 9 months, I get MRIs done with contrast. So isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So it gave me a second wind of life, and I've done a lot of things differently since then. So
Me too.
yeah,
Me too.
it changed your life, and and I look at people totally differently now. My daughter tells me I'm a changed person, and so forth, and it's just a different path I've been taking. That's for sure. And that's why I think that the powers to be brought me to the state I am now and got me to switch jobs, which I don't know why I went back to, back in law enforcement, but, there was a reason why I got hurt and so forth. So I see you drawing again.
Did you see that? Yeah, I was writing a note because if I don't write it down, I'll forget it. You know how like sometimes they say you have an angel on your shoulder? I don't know if
Mhm.
the angel's on the right hand side, so the left hand side wouldn't be an angel. It's supposed to be the devil, right? So
Right.
maybe like on the top of the shoulder there to your left. If you were considering to put a tattoo there, maybe do that, okay?
I already got one.
Okay, because I need to highlight it. And I don't, how I see it or hear it, let me see, I saw it, I think. Let me see if I can draw it. Okay, now I can hear it. Angel on your shoulder on the left side, okay? All right, that's all I get. And all I did was write left, but I didn't finish writing it left.
Yeah, I have a Celtic cross on my left shoulder.
Okay. That's
So
your angel on your shoulder, okay?
something
That's
told me
your
to get that
protector.
done right before I got hurt and so forth. And I don't know why. I don't believe in tattoos, ladies and gentlemen. There's no disgrace to anybody that had.
You're muted. Mute.
All the time it happens when I talk to psychics or mediums or somebody along the lines. It happens. So, but tell me some interesting stories. I know you got to have a gazillion of them.
Okay, yeah. So I'm trying to look. My pet is ailing. I'll probably get you to maybe tell me what people are wanting me to focus on at some point. We'll go through the line. I'm cool with that. So some cool stories. I'd love to talk about my Second Sight Paranormal team. We consist of an attorney, police officer, a city police officer who is currently working. We have a lot of criminal justice majors. We have myself. Real estate agent, a pilot, just a lot of different people. But the concept, we started out with just ghost hunting. What we're wanting to do now is kind of delve back into where I started. When I was in college, I started watching Unsolved Mysteries, and I would see, the deaths and stuff of
Right.
people. And I was a little freaked out and scared by it and didn't do anything with it. For a couple of cases, I think I turned in information. But then later on, when I moved in this haunted house, it all came back like with full force, vengeance. And I felt like I was being haunted and traumatized and killed sometimes. As I went down to my local law enforcement, to Escambia County Sheriff Department, and kind of like said, use me because I don't know what's wrong with me, or lock me up or put me in Lakeview or something. But and then I started kind of helping with some of the families that had missing people, cold cases. And I think like to kind of give some encouragement to people like me, it does not hurt to try to help. You know, law enforcement are going to be the ones who will recover a body or whatever. But if your intent and your ego is in check, whatever you can do to assist, whether you do the like the research, you know, doing ischemic county, if you're in Pensacola, ischemic county rescue. But you can find a way to help, even if it's, you know, like with children and nonprofits and families. And you mentioned domestic violence, suicide prevention, you know, going through guardian ad litem. There's so many ways that you can be of service, because when we think about death, and especially murder and things like that, we don't only just affect that person that dies, you affect the person who is the child that might have been abused there. I mean, there are just so many factors. So find a way to be of service. But that's kind of where I started. I basically was trying to figure out how to figure out what was going on with me, and how I was to use this, because I was very different. I didn't know a lot of people that could close their eyes and go to from Pensacola in the office that I'm in to somebody's front yard and walk in their house. I didn't know people could do that. I thought everybody could do that. Actually, I didn't know that they couldn't do it. And so if I had this like weird power thing, I wanted to figure out how to be of service to use it the right way. That's important, the right way. And so that led me to a lot of different things. But some of the craziest things, I guess, I'll just start with like meeting people randomly, you know, and seeing things, seeing like, you know, looking at you, if I focused on you. If I asked, was there somebody dead around you? I could probably get people to talk to me. But it's just, I mean, it's so many different things that, I mean, you go places, you see things. But what I always try to tell people that are like me, don't get like ego based. Like you want to go up to people and tell them stuff. They're not there in Walmart to hear you try to be a psychic medium or show that you got some special ego power. They're just there to shop, you know. And I think I'm a skeptic because more so because of psychics and mediums like myself that I know that I don't know are legit, is because I have so many people come up to me and be like, oh yeah, she's that psychic. Oh, well, by the way, you know, I see this around you. First of all, I didn't ask you to look into my energy. You know,
Right.
I didn't ask you to take my clothes off in Walmart. That's not what we're about, you know. So, you know, I always tell people the reason why there's so many people that are skeptic of people like myself is because we as a people in the community sometimes don't have good boundaries. We want to like, you know, it's all ego based to me. You know, we want to go up and say, ooh, look and see what I can do. Well, everybody can do what I do. I mean, I'm not special. I just learned how to hone it and like I'm like Michael Jordan, you know, everybody can play basketball. There's some people that exercise like Kobe every day and they get up and they make it happen, but we all can do what I do. I totally am not ego based. I've met a lot that aren't though.
Unfortunately, I have as well. So,
Yeah.
especially the little ones that think they're top dogs and so forth. But I didn't mention your name, so you're okay.
Well, you know what I think is kind of interesting to remind us is that we are only hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, feeling what people show us. It's not about us. I mean, it's given to us. It's not from us. So if they give it to us, they also can take it away. And I've seen people fall on their face because of that. Say, well,
Oh
you don't
wow,
appreciate it. I'll take it away. What do you got now? And then you got to make up shit, you know? And that's where it happens.
that's wild. That is. That is. No, there's a few of them, like I said, that supposed to be worked with law enforcement and stuff, and I never validated, any of it. It's easy for me with some of my contacts to check into, and I've
Yeah.
got one guy that knows people with the CIA, and he's got some feedback on one person, so I'm
Yeah.
getting that when I get off the show with you.
Yeah.
So
Well,
see
who
how
I actually worked with was Buddy Guy, Pensacola, Mark Smeester, definitely. I worked with Kelly with findme2.com back in the day. Find Me Too is now Find Me. I'm a member of the Escambia County Search and Rescue. I actually just joined them, so we haven't really done anything But yeah, that's kind of the consistentness of what I've done basically in the area. And I've worked with a lot of families here. At some point, my cars were passed out from the cold case unit. And I did that, I think, in 2004, 2005. And I have emails like where, well, I don't want to talk about that. Yeah. I've got emails where people have said, oh, yeah, you found, this was during the Green Mile River killer.
Yep.
I have emails I know from one specific family member who said that the FBI said that Tina Peterson's body was found in Arizona, route whatever, I don't remember what I told her, tied up to a tree in back of a truck stop. So that's what I saw. So yeah. And I think at that time that was the Green Mile River killer that was killing all those ladies that were walking and, you know, in the truck stops and dropping bodies, because I was traumatized by all these dead women that would come to me in dreams, basically, and they were, you know, wanting somebody, I guess, to hear them so they could tell stories to them.
Oh,
So,
that's wild.
yeah.
That's wild. Well, you know, that brings me up to a question, and I mean, you can laugh at me, whatever, that's fine. You know, one of the questions I always had, and I never did had the guts to ask anybody. And Jim, I know this is going to hit home to you, sir, is that the Appalachian Trail, Yosemite, Yellowstone, Alaskan Triangle. I think the Alaskan Triangle was over 60,000 a couple years ago missing people. But we have always missing people from these locations with not a single trace. No clothing, no camping gear, no hunting equipment, rifles, nothing. They just disappear. I mean, what's happening to them?
Do you think UFOs have picked them up? Hold on, you know, I would have to focus on that because I don't ever use the ability just kind of like tongue in cheek. I literally have to put the intention to ask the question. So in order to do that, let me so you're asking me about a location and what's happening to people that are technically disappearing. Okay.
Disappearing with no trace.
So I'm going to say I didn't see any kind of UFO things. I'm just going to throw that out. There is no, I do believe in, you know, in things like that, but I didn't see any like ship sucking people up, for the record. Okay. What I did see though, which is kind of alarming, I'm wondering if there is the possibility of a mass grave someplace, because I felt like I was digging up dirt with a shovel and burying people. So is it a situation where it could have been a serial killer that's picking off people? Probably. Mostly males though. Hold on. Now you got me curious. So I'm walking down this trail, hat, gun, tent, little girl. So there's a fall down. So there's an injury, death there, which would be, I don't know why I saw decap, maybe. I forgot I'm lying. Okay, just kidding. I just saw the hits. Yeah, I didn't need to say that. For some reason, I would say more, I'm seeing a body or bodies being buried. So I don't know about any kind of other thing other than that. I'm seeing like somebody with a shovel digging and putting something like a bag in a hole. So if there are bodies that are allegedly lost, they must be buried someplace. They're not just randomly disappearing. So that's what I got.
Yeah, because in the paranormal world, you know, we think about Dogman, we think about Sasquatch, and of course UFOs come into play, interdimensions come into play. But I never asked anybody that, and that actually just popped in my head. Oh, that's a friend of mine asked me something else. I thought it was somebody getting ready to go nuts or something. But I always wanted to know because, it ties into missing 411 and stuff. And of course, that's on the air and so forth. And it's always been a curiosity of mine. There has been mention of many serial killers running around in that area, especially in the Appalachian Trail and some of the parks that are never been caught. And I got that for people from background in law enforcement. So, but we never really do have a definite answer what is causing that.
Has there been so I don't know anything about the history of it as far as the hauntings. If you live in that area, you probably have more of an understanding. Has there ever been mention of like maybe a little girl that's been seen in a specific area?
Mr. Appalachian Terror, can you answer that?
Because when I was focusing on that area, I literally saw like a little girl that came out remote the way that I see. Made me feel like someone would be missing there, maybe that was with her father. And it could be a multiple death because the father felt like he was dead and also the child. And then I went to another location, which was up, and I saw someone fall. So that would have been a suicide, but that would have been known because the body was seen. I could see the body.
Yeah.
And 1, 2, 3. There, like it's where 3 heels are. 1, 2, 3. It's the 3rd heel. There's water running behind that. I'd have to pull it up on Google Maps.
That's interesting. There's been examples on TV where 2 hunters have been hunting the area for 60 years and they were not even 100 yards apart, not even 60, 70 yards off the trail. And they sat there all day and they didn't hear from each other. And one of the gentlemen gets up and walks down and his buddy's just gone, like disappeared. Never found a trace or anything from him. His guns, his clothes, or nothing. So, and that's always, my curiosity is what is happening to everybody. What is causing these people to go missing? Are they being killed? Are they, are they demons from hell? Are they, supernatural? I mean, I don't know.
I don't think it's supernatural. I think it's man.
That's interesting. Jim, you still on here? I'm waiting for you to pop in and answer her question. Appalachian Tales of Terror, are you still on?
That sounds like a fun haunted house.
Oh, he got some stories, I tell you. And it's really interesting because a lot of people I interviewed that have encounters with Dogman and Sasquatch, a lot of people that I've interviewed so far and spoken to has never, ever believed in them. And then they see one and they wet themselves and now they have PTSD and they never go back in the woods. And they freak out and they just can't wrap their mind around it.
I think they're shapeshifters. When I guess people are going to technically, energy will appear the way it needs to appear. But what I haven't necessarily seen that, but I have seen things that would mimic that. And I think they're dimensional. I don't think that we're going to always see them because even like sometimes behind me, in front of me, you will see things, especially when I'm on camera. And if you paused them, they probably could look like that because I've been in places where I've seen not so much a Sasquatch or a dog man or something like that, but I could say that it could appear that way if it wanted to. I don't think they're demonic. I think that they're definitely they're elementals. They're energies. They're just like we are. We appear the way we want to appear. And I think, I give this whole story about when I go to the casino and I drive down the road, I see dead deer all the time, and sometimes I'll see them not in the physical form like you'd see a dead deer. You see them almost like shadows in the middle of the road, walking by, darting by. and the average person wouldn't pay no attention to it. They just think their eyes were kind of like doing something weird. But the psychic or the medium would know that's a dead deer because they would just know it. And so I think the same thing. We know that dinosaurs existed at some point. Is it not that they wouldn't have some type of, I guess, spirit body? Because I talk to people that have lost dogs, and I can see their dog. And their dog can appear as a shadow, or the dog can appear as like the dog that they look like. So I think that, we are not that intelligent as a human species to not believe that there are other dimensions of things living that we don't always interact with, and why I can do what I can do and go places I can't explain that. So is it not capable for a Bigfoot or some other kind of animal from a different time to come back and say, hey, here I am, see me, and people will be freaked out? Because I've seen things that will appear to me a certain way because I need for them to appear to me that way. Because if they appear to me that way, I'd probably be in a mental institution. So yeah, I mean, I don't not believe it. I just know that I have not encountered it as a Bigfoot. I've encountered things though that,
Well, and that makes a lot of sense. So, there is no expert in those fields of topics. The only thing that we have are theories and people that are theorized off their encounters and experiences. I mean, we have people that I call them SSs. Either you believe in this way or you don't belong in my group. But when you interview people, they have a lot of the same encounters across the board that fit into usually 4 or 5 categories, whether it's orbs, UFOs, or Sasquatch can walk around a corner and just disappear and so forth. And, and other people said, no, it's a flesh and blood group. And I mean, nobody knows the truth. It's always going to be a mystery. There's monsters that wash upon beaches, all the time across the world.
Yes.
And I don't know why, but the city and county governments, they dig a hole on the beach with the backhoe and they bury it. I'm like, what are you doing? Take it back to the lab. Let's dissect it. Let's figure it out, Or did you create it and it got loose? I don't know. I mean, there's so many rabbit holes we can go down through. So,
most definitely.
Yeah, I didn't mean to go supernatural on or anything. So.
I love supernatural. I watched The Twilight Zone on repeat when I was little.
Yeah, it's wild because I had a gentleman bring that up the other day on the show, and he's like, Grizzly, have you ever realized of all the movies that came out always came true? And I was like, you remember Will Smith, Independence Day? He's like, yeah. I said, did you realize that movie was scrubbed 13 times by the government before it was released?
Oh, wow. Did not know that.
Yeah. And he's like, I did not know that either. I said, that's right. So why was the government involved, when it come to that movie or certain movies, and had to blacklist things for it to be okay to be released? So, are they trying to tell us something at subliminal message that it is true, just like the flying saucers before that. War of the Worlds back in the 30s caused mass havoc and mass suicides and everything. They thought the Earth was being attacked by aliens. So,
hey, Grizzly, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Have you ever talked about cremation on your show?
Yes.
Okay, so you have talked about maybe having cremation in your house?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll debunk it then.
Okay.
I was writing it down. All right,
there's a story behind that.
Huh? What'd you say?
There's a story behind that.
Okay, I was hearing it. So I was kind of going to, I'm going to say your left, I think is your left. And I was going into another room and I was going up like on a shelf or something. and I was seeing cremation, but I didn't think it was human.
No, it's not.
Okay. I
My little
felt like
chihuahua.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. My little chihuahua's back here. Did you see
Yeah.
him?
I have 2 more that I rescued about 8 years ago. So,
But if you talked about it, see, even if I never listened to it, I'd have to debunk it because that's just what I do.
yeah, but that's been a long time ago. I brought that up. Probably.
Is it in the left side of you though? Because that was the curious. I love it. I like doing this as like a scavenger hunt. I'm weird.
Well, now in the cameras, it's opposite. So remember that. So it's actually on my right side.
Okay. Well, I still go by left, right for me. So I still
Right.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
That's how
because my right's your left, my left's your right. So
okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, no worries.
There's Mr. Tales of Terror.
Okay.
Are you back? Or no, that's from earlier.
Okay.
Been trying to heal my pet. Mother had kidney stones removed. Appalachian Terror by Jim Blanton. Sorry to hear about.
Okay, about a wife. Let me see.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting a lot of calls from you being on the show.
So Marcia is my middle name, so that's probably an N. Let's see. Regurgitating. Yeah. No on that. Is Jim around?
I'm actually messaging him right now to see if he is.
Okay. I'm all on you right now. Ain't that funny? So do you have any kind of modular things that around you, like separate buildings that would look like mobile homes or I don't know what that's called, like places where you put stuff in it? They're modular, made out of metal.
Yes.
Okay, I think is it separate from what you're in, like a separate building outside in the back
Yeah,
of you?
that is correct.
Okay. All right. Boom. Okay. Go ahead. You talk. I'm just drawing stuff. All right. And then I'm trying to focus on my Jim because he wanted to ask a question.
I've never had this many calls before.
Okay. So there's bones in the backyard. So that's not you because if you just moved there, those aren't your dog bones. But that looks like a cat, actually.
Oh, okay.
So those are dead. And then there's a secondary building over here that feels like a driveway. Okay, so if you sleep on the right-hand side going in the door, there's a deceased male who visits you, biological.
Oh,
You have
really?
sleep apnea, okay?
Yep, that's true.
I'm gonna turn the bed. I do this thing like I have to draw it out. And so
Yep, it's true.
That's going to be your bed, okay? Well,
Yep.
okay. I don't know. Okay.
Yep.
So let me turn it around. And then so go into the bed. Are you on the right-hand side closer to the door, which would be a bathroom or something where you sleep?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I don't see him standing there. He's on the opposite side when I see him. He's by the window.
Really?
Yeah. And do you have a window or a light source behind you, like where your headboard is?
Light source.
Okay. Not above. I'm talking about behind. Like if this were your bed up here. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you fell out of bed. Okay. Okay. So Paul's dad's. Okay. Not the dad. The Paul. Great. No, not the Paul. So this is a family friend or a brother doing process of elimination.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay. All right. Dad times 2. So there are 2 named after in the grandpa. And then this guy who is different. He said goodbye to you in a dream. But he is your brethren. He's not your family. Brethren is different. Brethren is not blood. It's like someone who died, but he would visit you because you've saved him, or he's, I don't know how to explain it, but maybe he saved his life or something. So he's kind of, I think he has to do with that shoulder thing. Okay. So if he was whispered to you to do it, it's more of like reminiscent of like him watching over you because you watched over him, but he's dead. His death is traumatic to me. So it's not a sickness or hospital type of thing. And I'm not going to say that, but I think you did do that. Let me double check something. Did you? Yes. Okay, I thought so because I got a headache. All right, so validate that by showing me bed of, I'll call you Grizzly because I don't know your first name, Christopher. Thank you. So if you show me yes, please show me what that is. Are you like that, or some suicide or something, or trauma? Okay, black would be yes. And then no would be white. Or gray, because I see gray. Tell me what color your bedspread is.
Gray.
Okay, there you go. All right. So I don't, okay. Do you have a question to ask me?
No, I'm kind of mind blown. I got Mr. Blanton back in here.
Hello.
That was the one about his wife.
Okay, let me see where I get. I'm going to try to release you. I'm all on you right now. I'm trying to get off of you. It's the beard. I like beards. Okay. So Jim. All right. Can you show me anything of information for Jim in the highest good? Jim, do I have permission? Because sometimes I have to go in your house in order to see what I got to see. So I'm just going to assume that you're giving me permission. So we're going to rock and roll. I'm going to go on this side. Hey, I'm going to go on this side for you. I can't go in your front door. I don't know. Maybe you don't go on the front door when you go home. Okay. And then so, hey, girl. Well, I met with some dogs. So there's a dog. And then you're going to be back here to the way back sleeping. And I can't sleep in that room. I don't want to sleep in the room. So he's probably on the couch for some reason. That's how I'm outlining your house, okay? And then so your mama, that's weird. I don't get no wife right now, but some ladies in the kitchen. So there's noises in the kitchen, which the kitchen feels like it's right here. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. I hear noises in the kitchen. You will have flickering of lights someplace over here, but it's not electrical. Okay. So that's just signs and stuff. I want you, Jim, to be careful. I want you to get your blood pressure checked and be mindful of the heart area, the widowmaker, but not the widowmaker. So it's probably vein stuff. And I think, let me make sure it's not Grizzly. I'm going to just tell you, dude, I don't know you, but keep an eye on the chest area. If you've had any pain or you're supposed to take medication, you need to take that. Because you do have what I'm going to call some yellow or hardening or some vein issue. And whether you want to admit it or not, you probably fell or got queasy or something, because whoever this female is, I can't validate the wife. I know the mom feels like it's more of a mom. But there's some concern of like maybe some health issue that you recently have that you're downplaying. Okay. So I need you to make sure you check into that and call me. He can give you my number. It's all on the internet. Call me when we're done and I'll see if I can connect with your wife because I don't get her. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I had no idea the show was going to turn into this. Very interesting. I can tell you that. So, and my studio phone has never rung this many times before. So, and it's weird because something told me to get it to where I can take calls on live shows, and I said no, I'm not going to do it. And it was like, yes, you are. I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And it's like, you're going to do it, so I did it. So it's interesting.
You can always come back another time.
Well, I even told a few of them that I know that are legit. That we can even do some live ones for you, live sessions, whenever you want to do it, or or if you're doing a live session with some clients that don't mind being on the air or whatnot, we can do that as well.
Yeah, I don't usually do it with the clients, but what I can do is like if someone wants to, you want to, I don't know if you Skype them in or they call, because usually what they do is like when I'm on Lex and Terry, they just basically call in and they handle all the phone lines. And they just ask. I usually focus on them or they just ask a question.
Oh, I got you.
Go from there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Scarborough Squatchin saying, interesting. She has moved on, Jim Blanton said.
Good. And I think it's important too, because I remember one of them guys, you had mentioned he was a pastor and he said he's Christian. It took me a long time to be me because when I was in high school, I was in Teens for Christ for I don't know how long. Like I was one of those girls that didn't listen to TV, didn't wear pants, dresses. And this wasn't something that came from my mom. My mom was totally opposite. But I had this weird moral compass when I was really, really young, very black and white in some ways. And, then I got crazy too, so I wasn't always holier than thou. But there was this worry about being me because I had seen the connotations of what psychic was. I'm not a Wiccan, I'm not a witch, I'm not a voodoo practitioner. It was all of these things that that you had to be, or that you were talking to Satan or demons and all these other things. So it was so difficult for me to question why God would give this to me and want me to use it in a way if it was evil, and to have the validity of like, lady, and I can say this, but I can tell you people have called me and said, especially when you lose a loved one, I was going to commit suicide. So I say, if God is in this, he's helping people, not hurting people. And so my intent in using this ability is so important to me. And so just to let you guys know that might be like me, I consider myself a Christian, that's what I consider myself to be. That's the basis of my religion, my background. And I think that you can coexist and be a Christian and also believe in the paranormal, and also tap into the inner divinity within yourself, that inner voice that God gives us, the comforter, or whatever we're going to call it. We all have it. Not the preacher is not the only person who gets messages from God. We just follow the preacher because the preacher is the leader of the church or the organization. But God can talk with all of us if we just learn to listen. So you better keep up with that, Jim, okay? And make sure they stay on that, and change diet, because I saw yellow. Yellow usually means cholesterol. And they were showing me the veins narrowing. And so if it's something that you can precognitively check into and fix. And I don't know about you feeling dizzy, dude. Make sure you weren't dizzy recently, okay?
And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let you know that her and I never met. I hand selected her off of another platform. We never spoken to each other. And when we did, it was only about show times and getting her slotted in. She was actually supposed to be on yesterday, but that was my fault, unfortunately. My show ran over. And then I didn't have the information that I needed to put her on the show, which I thought I did. So I apologize, everyone, and apologize to you.
Oh, it's okay. It worked out the way it's supposed to. And I was literally reading a lady, and then I was going to take a nap because I was so tired after. And then I came to Facebook to check something. And then you were like, oh, you're coming on. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
so I'm like, oh God, look, my clothes are on backwards. Yeah. I was literally throwing clothes on. Yeah, seriously. That's just, yeah. And I was like, I didn't even correct it. I said, they'll never know. They'll never know. And so, yeah, I'm surprised I have pants on. I was like totally running to get dressed. And I was like, let me throw on some makeup.
Jim left another message for you because I think you have to move on.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think that's so important, you know, because my team, you know, I'm an equal opportunist as far as respectful of people's faith bases. My team, we have, you know, so much diversity there, and I think it's important in the paranormal. Even though I consider myself a Christian, you know, if I go to a person's home that might be Wiccan or a witch or whatever, you know, or pagan, let me say pagan, that are pagan. I am happy that we have multiple people on my team that would be able to assist them along with myself because I've educated myself in certain things. But you have to be able to help that person. They're not all going to be Catholic and going to recite, you know, the Hail Marys and the rosaries with you, or, you know, the power of Christ compels me. That they're not all going to do that because that might not be their faith base. So as paranormal investigators and mediums and psychics, it's important to have those tools for our clients because we're really truly supposed to be assisting and helping them. And their spiritual entourage or people around them are going to respect or should respect their boundaries and their religious beliefs. So that's important to know.
And two things I want to hit on that, and I totally agree with you. And first thing is anytime I bring up biblical reference or religion, it's like, oh, here comes Grizzly talking about religion. Here we go. And it's like, you know, I believe that people should believe in their own faith or denomination, whatever they want to believe in. But I do believe because in the Bible it says, you know, God has created creatures seen and unseen. And on my team of admins and administrators or moderators, I have police, state police, paramedics, medium, psychics, and a few civilians. And I've been looking for a pastor. And I finally found one, and he's the Catholic. And I thought I was going to give him a little lesson and biblical reference. And instead, when I interviewed him on the phone, he ended up knocking me off my pedestal and freaked me out because I never thought I've ever heard things come out of a reverend like I did him when it come to the Bible and missing books and Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and you know, who actually wrote those books. And I was like, wow.
Aramaic, not English.
Yeah. I'm like, wow.
Aramaic, not English.
He's into the paranormal, and he said not too much Sasquatch or Dogman. And he explained just like you did, and it was just like, wow. And I was like, can I have you on my team, please? Yeah. So he actually agreed to. So I'm actually going to have him on the show next week, and he's going to start working with this. So I interviewed one woman a while back ago. It was awful. She was I don't know if she was self-creating the evil spirits, but her boyfriend died unexpectedly. Members of her family died unexpectedly around her. Her friends would not come over. Her friends would not let her come over. And just strange things would happen around her house and all this other stuff. And of course, she, you know, got hooked on drugs and tried to commit suicide. The natural things that people do that you and I know that goes through this type of process. And her phone was fully charged. It died. She got on her second phone. My whole system shut down. My soundboard just went haywire. And this went on for like almost 2 weeks. And I actually went out and bought another whole new system. And when the new system came in, everything was working fine. I'm like, what in the world? And I was talking to some of the people that, that I have on my team. They're like, hey, Chris, you got to be careful doing stuff like that. I was like, well, I didn't know this was going to be the conversation. She just came out with like, yeah. And that's what I call the shotgun method, right? Where they just shoot you with everything at once. Because sometimes, I will talk about what we are going to talk about on the show, but most of the time, I'll let the show let you dictate where you want to go with the show. I like it that way. I don't like to have, well, I'm going to ask you this question. I expect you to answer this, because I had one psychic on here, very, very well-known psychic. And I had to read a sheet of questions. That's the only way I could interview him. I'm like, oh, what do you mean? So I had to do that, and I was very uncomfortable doing it. And I thought, well, let me see if I can bend these rules a little bit and ask them some out of the box questions. But I didn't. I stuck to it. So that's just my belief in how I feel. That's how the things I like to roll with. That's for sure. I guess I'm a little bit different.
Me too.
Absolutely.
So that lady that you mentioned, I saw green slimer. Green slimer is not a good thing.
Actually, she brought up slime.
Say that one more time.
Actually, she brought up slime. Yeah.
Okay. So green slimer for me, I remember when I was at Through the Veil or Dragon Con, I can't remember which one. There was a girl who stood up and she talked about having been exercised before, by clergy, not just some bootleg, how everybody now is a demonologist. This was, 10 plus years ago. And I think it was either Bishop Long or I don't remember who it was. It was somebody legit. So, and she wanted to help people now that had been through oppression. And we were all on panel and we were like, no, you don't need to help people that have been, because you're pretty much a victim and you're an easy target because it could reoppress. But when I looked at her, I could see Slimer, before she even talked, when she was walking down the hall, I could see what I call, and I still to this day call it Slimer. It was a big body of green energy following her the whole time. And when she stood up, I could see it around her and I knew she was still under oppression. So when you talked about that lady, I saw Slimer, and that tells me she is still under oppression. Someone that would be more, I wouldn't deal with it, me, because I don't deal with that energy. I don't like it around me. But someone else would probably need to assist her with cleansing her space, and she does have an attachment. So for sure.
Yeah, and she lives in the same area where I live. And I was telling her what church to go to, because I got Catholic, and I'm not Catholic, but I have Catholic reverends that blesses my challenge coins for police officers and paramedics and stuff. And I told her exactly, go buy some couple gallons of water, take them there, dump them in a holy water fountain, and scoops them up. He'll say a blessing over them, and then when you have holy water, he'll come over, do the blessing of your house. I mean, I told her exactly what needs to be done, and I'm not an expert, but the guy that I got on my team, he goes back to 1982.
Oh, good. Yeah, he would more than likely. But this is a thing, and I'm not speaking on this particular individual. Let me throw that out there. Some people identify with that as a part of who they are. So when they identify with it, it almost becomes their badge of honor to wear, and they don't want to get rid of it, because if they get rid of that, they don't have whatever that is anymore. And so it's like with the paranormal. How many times have we gone to a person's house to help them, and they'll say something, well, we don't want you to get rid of the spirit, not that we could anyway, because spirits have free will, but we want our house haunted. We just wanted you to come here and to tell us what it is. No. Yeah. And you know, and so that's a part of it too. Sometimes people identify with that specialness that they are possessed or they have all these things happening. And again, not speaking to this particular case. But yeah, do you really want to get rid of it, or do you really want it? Is it a part of who you are? Have you kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of my questions. I'd never asked the individual, is that we talk behind the scenes with my staff. You know, is it something that she self-created with the attachment that will not, or she will not let it go because it's a part of her and she wants it to be a part of her? And
I 100% think that that should be something that you should consider. And how you'll know the difference is she ready to let go of it and all the things associated with it? So in doing that, that means you don't talk, you know, that you don't speak no evil, you don't hear no evil,
right,
yeah.
right,
So it's almost like when you let it go, you let it go. It's like I'm no longer talking to that, I'm not mentioning it, I'm not pondering going back in the past about it. It's like a boyfriend that you had that you no longer date and you let it go. I don't think she's ready to do that. She identifies so much with it that it's a part of her story.
and that's what we were thinking. Now I don't know that for sure because I don't have special abilities. You know, the abilities I have, and my daughters will tell you that I am known as the human lie detector. You know, because
Yeah.
all the training I had over the years with law
Yeah.
enforcement and in certain departments and so forth, I'm really good at that. So, and my daughters always hated me, and so did my boss. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I would just put my hand up and be like, "Nope, stop! I don't even go there." And I'm
Yeah.
good with micro expressions, and I got
Yeah.
into handwriting analysis. And you know, they used to bring me people's documentation and be like, "All right, tell me if they're telling the truth or not." And within 2 or 3 minutes, I can tell you, no, they're lying, and this is why I know. And it's just small things about how hard they press on the paper, how far below they write on the line, and so forth. So, oh, something's coming to you.
No, keep talking. I'm gonna
So,
prove something to you. Hopefully, we'll see.
sure. So, you know, it's just a lot of indicators that, you know, that I have been taught to look for. And I've been like a sponge to actually soak all that up and use it to help the company that I worked for and other agencies as well do to determine, there we go, I said it, the actual truth, or if somebody was being deceitful or not. So,
Okay. This might bomb, but we'll see. Okay.
all right.
Okay. All right. Close your eyes right quick.
All right.
All right. Now think of a color.
Okay.
All right. Tell me the color.
Well, I'm stuck between two.
Okay. You can open your eyes. I'm sorry.
All right. Blue.
I bombed. What was
Would
the other color?
red.
Red like fire.
Yep.
Did you see red first or blue first?
Red.
Well, why don't you change it?
I said I was stuck between two colors.
That tells me you're psychic, okay?
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was just because all my training that I had.
No, no. Well,
Because,
the training helps, but mm, sometimes if you close your eye, like say you're around a person, I don't know, because I worked in mental health with bad people too, but let's say you're around a person and you don't have to hear them talk or anything or say anything. Sometimes you can look at them, and I'm not trying to the prejudice talk. I'm talking about you can just look at them and you can feel something, you know? That doesn't have nothing to do with how they speak, what they say, their eye contact. You just feel something. Have you ever had that?
yeah, and it's actually has gone and has increased since I've been on the show a lot more, because since I've been hurt, I'm not actually associating with people as much like I used to be. So I have been advising people that they have special talents and abilities that they don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like freaking out, like, well, how do you know? I'm like, I just don't know. I just telling you that I think you need some help to grow on those abilities and develop those and hone in on them. And I've got the right psychic that actually does that, and she don't charge. And I think we need to hook you up with them and or her. And every time that I do that, it's always been 100% right, along with other topics. So, I just thought it was just my talent of, all the training I had over the years and stuff. So
Teachers teachers are taught how to teach children, right?
right.
But teachers are not taught how to look at Sarah and know Sarah had a bad day. Teachers are not taught to look at Johnny and know that Johnny needs a hug. Now, Johnny might just be doing his normal homework, but something in that teacher will say, "Hey, Johnny, how you doing? Come here. You look like you need an extra hug." It's something that is, somebody said empathic, bro. It's empathy, but a lot of law enforcement, singers, mental health, I would say hospital people are very empathic. The blue sense that, law enforcement talk about is psychic ability, because even with all your training, you could still do all that and your gut will tell you something that's not, not book. That common sense, gut, empathic, blue sense is different than book. It is. So you just have to own that.
And that's amazing you said that, because my last chief, before I retired under Leosa, he used to get mad at me because he would say, "Chris, you were always right. And you call me by my name that you didn't even know my name earlier." I don't know if you caught that or not, but I did.
Okay. No, I think you told me that on, because again, I have to be legit all the way. I think when you asked me to add you on Facebook, you gave me your
Oh, okay. Thank
name.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
you got to debunk that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I was that good. I'm not that good.
Yeah. Well, that it shocked me. I forgot about that. So
Yeah.
I said my memory's not that good, with the medication stuff. But no, and I could sit here and talk about, some of the jobs I had growing up, and since you brought that to my attention, which I never really thought about, it's just, you're right. I just know sometimes when people are just telling me fudge and fibs and BS and all that other stuff, and it's just, I tell people, if you can't talk about it, just tell me you can't talk about it.
Yeah.
And leave it at that. Don't ad lib. And no offense to anybody, but I call that Clintonism. So, oh, I can't go to funerals, to graveyards. The sadness takes me everywhere. Or every time I cry for no reason, feel like I'm being stared at and see anything that scaries. Sorry, I have a rough time people reading this far away. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm that way too. I don't go to funerals. I think when you kind of become more aware of death and the understanding of death in the afterlife, it's just really a physical body that they lose. They don't lose the spirit body. And so in grief, people are so, caught up in that whole process because they can't touch that loved one, but that loved one is just there. I mean, it's just not a body. It's just like around air, flying around, doing their thing. And so I try to remind people that you just can't see them like you can't see air. You can't see oxygen, but we know we breathe it. So they're there.
that's true. That's true. So what was you writing down this time? You got me curious again.
Oh, a wrestler. I went to another time in your life where somebody hit you in the stomach. I don't know. I felt like I was wrestling. I don't know.
Well, one of my calls I had when I was on county, I'll never forget this. This is kind of funny story. It was actually like a
Oh,
wrestling match.
here, wrestling.
Yeah.
Wrestlers.
So
Okay.
we got called to a domestic violence, and we went. It was my lieutenant and I. We went to this apartment building, and back then we were on low band, so people were waving us which apartment to come to because everybody had scanners. And we walked into the apartment, and I went over to the big female, and he went over to the male, and backup was coming up the steps. Well, only thing I know is I'm not going to mention his name. He did the flying elbow coming into the apartment, hit the guy. The woman punched me in the stomach and was trying
Okay,
to
that was the stomach.
pick me up
Okay.
like a sumo wrestler.
Okay. I
So,
felt like I hit you in the stomach, and I was
yeah.
like, "What's that about?" Okay, makes sense.
And I was, we had our vests back then were pretty heavy and thick. And I mean, she literally knocked the wind out of me. So I didn't tase her or anything, but it took all I had to get her on the ground by myself. But yeah, that's funny. That really is.
So, how I do my readings, the way my brain is set up is I am a little different. I think I focus on a person and just they say to me words like career, like that would have been on your list. It would have been wrestler. They just would have said wrestler, and then I would have got like I don't know house, blah blah blah, you know. And then so I just write a list, an outline. And so then I go over it and then I say, well, what did wrestler mean? And then they would say, okay, they show me a scenario like if you
Oh
get
yeah.
hit. So that's kind of how I do my readings. But what I think I'm trying to probably the reason why we're having this conversation more so is because people are trying to get me to go back to doing cold cases. I kind of ran away from it because it was like freaky scary, man. It was kind of weird to be able to do what I do in the way to use it the right way with being protected, I guess is. But I'm kind of thinking about going back to that a lot now. So maybe you're a push because of that. I don't know.
Well, it
it's
was
still
strange
struggling.
how you came across my list. I will tell you that much. It was
Okay.
very strange.
Okay.
So
The connection is really strange too. So.
yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
But you got me talking about prior law enforcement. I got to tell you this one story since you brought
Okay.
the wrestler. So, ladies and gentlemen, you may get a kick out of this. So, I was still on county at the time, and this guy was driving. Some states it's OWI or DUI. We call it DUI, and he actually hit a state trooper's wife's car on the 135, almost head on, and he fled the scene. And he went to another county, and we were trying to catch up to him, and they dispatched me to the hospital because they got a warrant to draw blood because he refused to blow or anything like that, and he fought with another county police officers, and it was pretty bad. Make a long story short, we had to hold him down in the chair, and the nurse was freaking out because he was screaming and everything. And Bartle was my lieutenant at the time, and him and another officer was holding him back in the chair, and they kept telling me to tase him. So I kept telling him, this is going to hurt. So I took the cartridge off to dry stun him, and he grabbed a hold of my taser and was trying to break my finger, and they kept hollering at me. I kept screaming. And the nurse, they were hollering at the nurse, jab him now, his arms down, draw the blood. And let me tell you something, when she jabbed that needle in him, oh man, he cried like a baby.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I really thought my finger was broken because he kept twisting the taser, and I kept trying to crack him, inside the thighs with it because he was kicking and everything else. But then I was taking him to Sallyport, book him in, and everybody around the county thought I was tasing him all the way to jail because he was screaming and kicking back in my seat. And I had a SWAT team, it seemed like, when I got to jail. So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
You'll
reminiscent.
you'll probably write a book about that one day, I'm sure.
But you know what's really interesting, and once again, you say that, and I was talking to a lady last night, and she is a publisher, and we were talking actually about writing some books about the paranormal and probably some of my past stuff. So,
Okay, I have a funny thing to ask you.
sure,
Do you have any? Have you had a pretzel lately?
yeah. Oh wow,
That's a sign. Like how lately? Like today?
yeah.
Write the book.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me ask you something.
Something told me to show you the pretzel that I was nibbling on earlier today. I'm a weird one.
So how does people get a hold of you if they want to?
You can go to psychicdiva.net, coldcasepsychic.com, erickaboussarhhane.com, our second site, paranormal.com.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from her today. You learned a little bit more about Grizzly than I would like to let out of the bag. But, hey, it was a good show. I really enjoyed it. And that pretzel just put the icing and cherry on top for me. So I wouldn't be surprised if there would be some books later coming out. And that also tells me to reach out to that publisher and see what she can do for Grizzly. Grizzly's got some coming up in the future, so we're going to make the show a little more interesting, and who knows what's going to come out of it, but we shall see. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again. It's that time of day, unfortunately, where we must say goodbye and good afternoon. But if you want to be on my show, all you have to do is email me at Grizzly, the paranormal at gmail.com. Once again, that's Grizzly, the paranormal at gmail.com. Any last words?
Y'all just check out Second Sight Paranormal, watch our bootleg paranormal movies, and stay blessed.
You heard it. The one and only. You know, and it was funny. One of the admins in one of the groups were like, this does not make any sense. Is she renowned or world renowned? I was like, I'm just bringing her forward again. And then I showed her some of the stuff on it. She like gave me a heart and made me feel warm and fuzzy. So coast to coast and from around the world, this is where we say goodbye, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. I don't think they want to let you go. It's never been this